repeat it, that we approve the amended agenda as described by Kathy. Student board members,
I approve.
please,
I approve.
thank you. Board members, any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion carries 5-0. With respect to the closed session, there was no action taken, so there was nothing to report. We're going to go straight now to our resolutions. Resolution number 22/23-55, declaring June 2023 to be lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer Pride Month.
And just point of clarification, personnel, are we pulling that to bring that up forward after the resolution?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, good evening. First of all, we have two very important resolutions that I will read into the record, and I will start with the Mountain View Los Altos High School District declaring June 2023 to be lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer Pride Month. Whereas it is policy of the Mountain View Los Altos High School District that all persons, including those who are lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer, have an equal and non-discriminatory opportunity to a quality public educational experience. And whereas many lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, or queer youth and youth perceived to belong to these groups still face harassment and physical violence in communities. And whereas the 2018 California Healthy Kids Survey reported that 46% of LGBTQ youth seriously considered suicide in the last 12 months, as compared to 15% of non-LGBTQ youth. And the 2018 Human Rights Campaign report found that just one accepting adult can reduce risk of suicide among LGBTQ young people by 40%. And whereas the MVLA High School District deplores harassment and physical violence or the threat of such against any of our students, faculty, and staff. And whereas the MVLA Board of Trustees believes that the rich diversity of families and communities is one of MVLA's strengths, and furthermore believes that a family is a supportive unit composed of various genders, orientations, cultures, races, and ethnicities. And whereas MVLA Board of Trustees celebrates, values, and welcomes diversity of our student body, our teachers, our staff, and our administrators, including the diversity of sexual orientation and identity in our community. And whereas MVLA School Board of Trustees has made a commitment to achieving and fostering diversity and acceptance in our staff, our school population, and in our curriculum. And whereas Mountain View Los Altos' adopted curriculum materials comply with the FAIR Act, ensuring all groups, including LGBTQ plus community, are represented fairly and accurately. And whereas the Mountain View Los Altos High School Board of Trustees wishes to note the variety of celebrations recognizing lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer Pride Month around the nation and throughout the state of California during the month of June. Therefore, upon approval, be it resolved that MVLA High School Board of Trustees and the Mountain View Los Altos School District proclaim June 2023, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer Pride Month, and will fly a rainbow flag at each school and facility within the MVLA school districts throughout the month of June. And in fact, we do so every day to signify support for the LGBTQT plus community.
Thank you, Nellie.
Thank you.
At this time in our history of the country, this group has been under particularly heavy attack. And I think it's vital that we express our support for them here, where we want them to feel safe and at home with every other student and every other faculty member and every other member of our community. So thank you for bringing forth that resolution. Board members, do you have anything to say?
No, but I would love to make a motion.
Okay, thank you.
I would love to following what Phil said, and that I think we all, the whole board agrees with what he said, I move that we approve resolution 22/23-55, declaring June 2023 to be lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer LGBTQ plus Pride Month.
Do I have a second? I second. I think you might have beaten me to the punch. Sanjay gets the second. Okay, very good. Any further discussion among the board?
Yes, I just wanted to say that the suicide rate among our LGBT plus youth concerns me a great deal. And I hope that our schools are accepting environments for all sexual orientations. And that's why we fly the flag, because every month is Pride Month.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Anyone else? Okay, student board members, Sadie.
I agree.
Thank you.
I agree.
Thank you, Ellen. Board members, how do you vote? All in favor, raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. And now we have another resolution.
We do another resolution that is also timely and important. This is the resolution for Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. And since we are still in May, it is for May 2023. And this is a reaffirmation from our Board of Education, who has consistently brought forward this resolution. Whereas in 1990, Congress voted to expand Asian Pacific heritage from a week to a month-long celebration. And in May 1992, the month of May was permanently designated as Asian Pacific American Heritage Month. And whereas the diversity of these groups include Asian Indian, Bengali, Burmese, Cambodian, Chinese, Filipino, Guamanian, Hawaiian, Hmong, Indonesian, Japanese, Korean, Lao, Malayan, Okinawan, Pakistani, Samoan, Thai, Vietnamese, and many others. And whereas studies have found that the academic needs of Asian American and Pacific Islander students are frequently overlooked, and whereas understanding Asian and Pacific Islander history is an important part of celebrating Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, and whereas Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders have endured and overcome hardship and heartache. In the earliest years, tens of thousands of gold rush pioneers, coal miners, railroad builders, as well as farm and orchard laborers were subject to unjust working conditions, prejudice, and discrimination, yet they excelled. And we acknowledge these Americans for their contributions to government, industry, and commerce, agriculture, science, literature, and the arts. And whereas California is one of the states with the largest Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders population, and whereas we acknowledge the historical and cultural contributions of Asian Pacific Americans in the development of the state of California. And may it be resolved upon approval that May 2023 is designated as Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, and encourages all schools to commemorate this occasion with appropriate activities to recognize the countless contributions that Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders have made in helping our nation.
Good. Thank you, Nellie. Another very important resolution to have done. Yes. Board members, any comments?
I do have one that both this resolution and the previous one not only say the part that we approved the month as being recognizing, but it gives us a good history and background of that particular group that we're recognizing, and that is a good education for everyone.
Thank you, Kelly. Any other comments?
Thank
Okay.
you for including Burmese.
Resolutions across the nation included Burmese. So.
That is really amazing. I didn't know that.
Mhm.
So I learned something.
So may I move that we approve resolution 22/23-57, Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month as May 2023.
Second.
She's been chomping at the bit.
Yeah, for the, she's,
Okay, moved by Catherine, seconded by Peter, that we approve the resolution as read. Any further discussion? Student board members,
I approve.
Sadie,
I approve.
thank you both. Please raise your hand or say aye to indicate your approval. All
Aye.
in favor, aye. Motion carries 5-0. Okay, we are now at the point for board member reports. As board president, I have the privilege of saying that our superintendent has made a choice for the new principal of Los Altos High School. And I will let the superintendent introduce our new principal.
All right, well, thank you. It is my honor and pleasure to introduce our new principal with the unanimous support of the board. And her name is Tracy Ranieri. And I'm learning to pronounce that with a great mnemonic device. A little bit about Tracy, and then we will invite her to say a few words. Tracy has a Bachelor's of Arts in Social Science and a Master's of Arts in Education from San Jose State University. She is currently pursuing a doctorate in educational leadership with a focus on transformative leadership, social justice, and equity from San Francisco State University. And she's expecting to have this award next May and working on it this summer. She also holds an administrative credential and single subject credential in social science from San Jose State University. She served as a principal at Harbor High since 2016. Previously, she served as the school's assistant principal. While at Harbor High, she led the school to an international baccalaureate world school authorization, increased student enrollment by 25% over 2 years, and served as a site lead for a $26.3 million bond measure to fund their facilities. She has also served for many years as an assistant principal at Watsonville High and a social studies teacher there for several years. Ms. Ranieri has expertise in implementing and expanding AVID advancement via individual determination, restorative practices, leading impact teams, and equity in education. And so it is my honor to congratulate and welcome Tracy Ranieri to the podium and to Mountain View Los Altos High School District. Welcome, Tracy.
I am honored to be here. I want to thank Dr. Meyer for her confidence in me and for such a warm welcome by the board. What a lovely tradition to meet before the board meeting. That really helped me get the jitters out a little bit. So thank you so much. Everyone I've met has been so wonderful, and I'm just so excited. I'm at a loss for words. I do want to thank Rebecca and Naomi for their interview today on Zoom from the Talon, from the Los Altos student newspaper. That was a nice way to get to meet students just to begin my tenure at Los Altos High. I also want to thank Lynn for her leadership at Los Altos High for the past many years. I know she's been there for 38 years in total, and I want to thank her so much for her work there, and I feel privileged to take her place at the lead at the high school. So thank you all so much. I'm very excited to get started, and I'll see you again. Thank you.
All right, congratulations and welcome.
Very good. Other board members, any reports? Okay. In that case, we shall move on to the student board member report. Ava, please.
So recently, the big event, prom was not this past weekend, but the weekend before. And it was a huge hit for Mountain View students. Students really enjoyed being able to alternate between going on the dance floor and also roller coasters and rides like bumper cars at Great America. And I think it had one of the best turnouts and feedback kind of morales of one of like all of our proms. So it was very well attended and well enjoyed. We had our end of the year rally today. We had games like Finish the Lyrics, relay races, and then also our senior slideshow to wrap up the year for all our grades and build some community spirit. Our choir program had their farewell concert this past week, and our freestyle program also had their showcase this Thursday at 8:30 p.m. at their new campus, which is just next to the district office, so make sure to check that out. We're also wrapping up the year for all our grades academically, but especially our seniors, so everyone's buckling down for finals. Our block alumni, middle school alumni, are opening their time capsules this week. And then we also have our senior sunset on Friday night, and our senior awards night is this Wednesday night. All in all, it's been an amazing year. We've grown and celebrated so much, and I'm excited to see how our campus continues to shine. Looking forward with powerful and passionate student voices, working with our school board and our administration and staff. And just to end off, this will be my last school board meeting. And I look forward to handing off the role to Christoph, who is right here in the audience. So yeah, thank you.
And before we let you come out, where will you be going next year?
I will be going to the University of Southern California,
Wonderful.
USC. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Also, was honored. Talk about that, Dr. Meyer.
Ava was selected as the youth for the youth champion.
I don't even know.
And every year, the city of Mountain View and the challenge team selects one youth champion who has exhibited the qualities Ava has: empathy, global input, and contribution to making a difference in the lives of others. And Ava did a great job speaking at the challenge team and shared her accomplishments. And it is quite an honor, and it was certainly deserved. So congratulations, Ava.
Thank you.
I have a quick question. USC has many specialized schools.
Yeah.
Are you interested in one of them?
Right now I'm just in the College of Arts and Sciences because I'm interested in going pre-law, but I might dabble in the different schools. They're very interdisciplinary, so definitely might. I'm not sure yet.
It's a great place to be. You'll get a lot to say.
Yeah.
Great. Sadie, your turn.
Mine is not going to be nearly as interesting. But, athletics is wrapping up for most of our sports, but Los Altos girls track placed second at CCS and will be heading to states later this month. In addition, gymnastics made it to the CTS finals and baseball made it to the quarterfinals. Los Altos is holding our annual dodgeball tournament this week. We have completed our 64-team bracket, and the large gym is decked out in posters for each team. The first day of games were today during lunch and were a success, with hundreds of students participating and hundreds more watching. We're very, very excited about this, and it's a really, really big spirit event for the entire school. The end of year choir performance will be on May 25th in the large gym. Senior finals and checkout are next week, and graduation is on the 8th, followed by grad night. Wrapping up this year has been a lot, and we are also so excited to see where our seniors go, and whether they head off to college, jobs, or wherever next year takes them. We wish them all the best.
Very good. Any questions for either of our student board members? Sadie, will you be coming back in this position?
I will. I'm very excited. I'll be working with Christoph next year. Oh, and in addition to that, this Wednesday, I don't know if you're going to be there, but we've got the first official MSAC meeting here in the district office with, I think, around 20 or 25 students from both Mountain View, Los Altos, and Alta Vista. And we're really, really excited to see what this new organization does.
Chair as
Very good. Okay, thank you, Sadie. Thank you. We'll move on now with our students of the month. Let's start with you, Sadie.
All right. Do you want to come up here? Ready? Los Altos High School is proud to honor Aviv Khan as our May Student of the Month. It is a privilege to recognize all of her accomplishments throughout her time at Los Altos High School. At LAHS, Aviv is president and founder of the Astro Club at Los Altos and teaches students of all levels about astrophysical phenomena. She's also the co-president of the Neuroscience Club, and as a passionate leader in both clubs, she hopes to engage students and get them involved with the sciences in and out of class. Her favorite classes at LAHS have been her STEM classes. AP Chemistry and AP Calculus BC have been her top two. Her teachers describe her as thoughtful, a critical thinker, and super enthusiastic. She fosters and builds communities inside the classroom that everyone around her benefits from. Aviv learns ancient Greek with her Latin teacher. She loves learning languages in and out of school, and learning Greek marks her fifth language and third ancient language to date. She considers herself a very analytical person and loves her Latin class and how it relates to the English words today. Outside of school, Aviv is working hard to write a book in her spare time and is about 350 pages in. She loves to explore more creative endeavor that complements her STEM basics. Athletically, Aviv is also an avid rock climber and climbs regularly at a local gym with friends. After high school, Aviv hopes to attend a four-year university and major in physics or astrophysics with a minor in math. She's been passionate about the understanding of the universe since 8th grade and loves learning about through books and YouTube in her free time. She hopes to become an astrophysicist and work to explore more of the universe and how it works. Los Altos High School is excited to see all that Aviv accomplishes in her future and thanks her for everything that she has given to the school. Congrats, Aviv, and thank you for all you provide to our community.
Accomplishments, right?
Thank you.
I know Sanjay here is going to ask you about rock climbing. I'm not going to touch that one, but I do want to talk about your love of languages. It mentions here that you are learning Greek as well as Latin. And then it says there's a third ancient language. What is
Yeah.
that?
My first language is Hebrew, so that's like a revived ancient language. And then there's Latin, and then there's Greek through my Latin teacher, and they're all very exciting.
Very good, very good. And I really like your comments about the way learning one language influences your understanding of others. I think that was very insightful. So you've accomplished a lot. We look forward to a lot more accomplishments from you. I think you've got a great future. Now I'll open it up to my board colleagues.
All right, sure, I will ask about rock climbing. So, Mike, how did you get into rock climbing, and are you thinking about doing El Capitans?
So I've been climbing since I was 4. My dad got me into rock climbing. I don't know how long he's been rock climbing, but definitely as long as I have. El Cap is not currently on the list. They're not that good. But I definitely like seeing other people climb El Cap, like Alex Honnold, who does it in a very scary way with that rope. But yeah.
Thank you. Congratulations. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you missed an opportunity there when he said, "Are you ready for El Capitan?" You said, "I did that when I was 12. Other board members.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious, what are all the languages? Because there's mention of 5. I know the 3 ancient. What are the other 2?
So there's English, which you can tell. And then French, which I learned in middle school, and then Latin, ancient Greek, and Hebrew.
Congratulations. I hope you get to study abroad, continue to see other parts of the world,
I definitely want to.
and maybe also outer space since you're the career path you're considering. So, yeah.
So I'm actually an immigrant from England, and at least back when I went to school, all students learned Latin because it would help with their English. So I totally understand what you're saying, how it helps you understand language better. My question is about the book you're writing. I've written a book and it's very hard. So what's your book?
My book, a lot of people ask me this, and I have this like kind of convoluted answer. It's like fantasy and dystopian and a little bit of realistic fiction, because it's basically these magical group of friends who just meet each other, and then they end up going, there are different dimensions, and they go to the the human dimension, and they're trying to fix the oppressive government in the magical dimension. And yeah, it's probably gonna be like 450 pages, the raw version, but it's a work in progress, and it's really fun to write and just to like get to know the characters, and I'm actually like super attached to them, so it's interesting.
Oh, that's so wonderful.
I was gonna ask that, but now I will switch to neuroscience. What does the neuroscience club do?
So Neuroscience Club and Astro Club, they both have similar purposes where we want to like expose people to interesting parts of that field in STEM. So Neuroscience Club, we hold meetings, I think every third Thursday, and we introduce members to different topics in neuroscience. So our most recent one was last week, and that was about neurodivergence. And then we also talk about like neuroscience and genetics, or the anatomy of the brain and stuff like that.
Cool. Great. I'm proud of you for everything you've done. I think we all are.
So when should we buy the screenplay for your mom?
That's like 3 years from now.
Very good. Do you have parents or family with you here tonight?
I do. I have my mom, my dad, and my grandma.
Well, I would invite you both, or all of you, please to come up and join us here at the front. I'll give you the door and honorary certificate.
Okay, you're good.
No, but
It's so cute.
I loved it.
Why are you hiding?
I stood in my little corner until everyone went through, and then I was.
Mountview High School is proud to recognize Wesley B. as our May 2023 Student of the Month. Wesley is currently a junior at NBHS. Inside of school, his favorite classes are math and physics because he finds applying learned material to the real world especially interesting. Wesley is on the board of numerous clubs. He is the incoming vice president of Spartan Buddies, the current president of the Animal Assisted Happiness Club, and the incoming PR for National Honor Society. Wesley is also a part of ambassadors at NBHS. He loves being able to show new students around and contribute to creating a positive environment that promotes mental well-being at our school. Outside of school, Wesley volunteers every weekend to help children with special needs, as well as works at the farmers market selling meat and produce. He enjoys both of these activities because of the fulfilling interactions they bring. Wesley is also a volunteer and ambassador at the nonprofit Animal Assisted Happiness and has over 500 hours of service with them. In his free time, Wesley enjoys playing basketball, driving with his friends, eating, and traveling with his family. One of his favorite activities is going to the gym with his friends over the weekend and then going driving during sunset while blasting country music in the car. Looking forward, Wesley hopes to pursue further education and a career in engineering. Congratulations, Wesley.
So, Wesley, congratulations on all those accomplishments. I noticed that you not only like math and physics, but you like applying it in the real world. That's great. There's a great future for you in an area called quantum finance. It's been the basis of hedge fund and. So we look forward to your donation. To the education. Board members, any questions?
I'll go first. Can I go first this time? And I would like to ask about, you want to go into engineering. There's a lot of different kind of engineers. What kind do you want to be?
I think I'll go into electrical engineering.
Electrical?
Yeah.
Mhm. And why is that?
I think it's just like, it's so, I like to tinker a little bit, so I think just like feeling like the wires and being able to create things, like create things and design things is really interesting. I think electrical engineering gives me the best grasp of that.
Cool.
So I have a very important question, which is which farmer's market?
I work in Palo Alto and San Mateo.
Oh, okay, so I wouldn't have seen you then.
Mhm.
Okay, and then, what do you do with special needs kids in the weekend?
So I volunteer with them, and basically I spend hours with them, interacting with them and showing them this farm. And basically it's to provide them sensory activities. So showing them stuff like animals and like having that sensory feel, along with building those motor skills of like helping out on maintaining the farm and being able to communicate with them. Because these are not like skills that it's very hard to come by, and it's a fun way to teach them it as well. It's really fulfilling.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of it. It's sounding really fun. And then my other question is, who's your favorite country artist?
And I really
Pick
like,
several.
okay. I really like Tracy Chapman. She's a little older. And I really like Luke Combs as well.
Was it, I think you're one of the few students who I've met that likes country music. I'm curious, can you describe a little bit more, some of your, service work with the animal assisted happiness?
Yeah.
It's a lot of hours.
It is a lot of hours. So I started volunteering my freshman year during COVID. So that's where I obtained a lot of hours. But I spent a lot of hours facilitating other volunteers and helping them maintain the farm, as well as a lot of hours working with kids with special needs. So I will go to sometimes hospitals, different schools that specialize with kids with special needs, and work with them for hours to build their social skills as well as motor skills. And it's something I really, really enjoy. And yeah.
Thank you. If you get to continue that one.
Yeah.
One of the just amazing compliment. But I think you've scared every parent in the room. You say driving with your friends. It's one of the things that to enjoy and the blast in the country. So, I do want to. So you're incoming PR for National Honor Society.
Yeah.
So what are your plans next year?
I think I want to obviously like National Honor Society more. I think it's something that there's a lot of students that are a part of it, but I want to be able to expand its impact on Mountain View. And I want to show our school like all of the awesome things that we do, all the community service projects we have, to possibly inspire more students to apply for next year.
Well, I'm sure you're going to make it a better club. Thank you. Congratulations.
So do you have family with you here tonight?
I do not. They were busy tonight.
Oh, well, then we'll just, you all by yourself.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, we are up now to the superintendent's report.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. It's always hard to say goodbye when we have a student board member who has been so spectacular and impactful and through difficult times. And it's also hard to say goodbye for the summer. Although the summer's fun and we're very much looking forward to having you back, Sadie. So what we have for both of you is a small token of our appreciation from the Board of Education and myself. And we want to give those to you. So we will start. Okay. Yeah. Ava, you came and listened for about a year and really blossomed and made a difference in our district. And so we're just grateful to have worked with you, and we know you're going to do amazing things. Ooh, there we go. Stand up so we can. Very good. And an ankle. Maybe you are. And Sadie? Yes. I noticed Sadie when I first walked into Los Altos ASB, and she was listening intently and making wonderful comments. And I just remember leaving and saying, "Who is that?" And then you turned up here, and we're so grateful for what you brought already, the comments that you make, the discourse that you have with the board, and your leadership as we start our student advisory. So thank you for everything you've done, and you have a great summer, and we'll see you this week. So, yeah. All right. You can stand up too. Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you.
Let's have a round of applause. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Kelly, anything?
Just very short, few updates, and hopefully we'll have a time for a photo too with our student representatives if we can. So just briefly, there's so much going on, so I'm going to go through this rather quickly. A lot of fun things happening. Our music events, we're having our culminating activities. We're having choir and band and orchestra as we move. Oh, okay. As we continue to celebrate not only our arts, but our athletics, our students are doing great things. As we, whoops, there we, whoop. Okay. You've seen this before, but as we continue to focus our work around academic excellence, equity, and engagement, we're really seeing great evidence of that every day in our classrooms and outside. A few things that were mentioned, so I'll go through quickly. Our gymnasts on both campuses did an amazing job, and we have such great teams. So here you can see the champions from Los Altos, and they had a great event at Los Altos in the new mini gym where both Mountain View and Los Altos participated. And here we have JV. And then we'll see a little bit more about Mountain View in a second. But we also had our signing day where students are signing. It's a real fun activity, signing their commitments to universities to play their sport. And then during our staff appreciation at Los Altos this year, we had a student, Excel, and I just love that name, since I spend so much time on Excel. But anyway, she had this fantastic idea of having gratitude plants for the staff to show her appreciation. She went around the neighborhood and found cuttings and then put them together and had a table for the teachers and classified staff to have these gratitude plants. So this was something no one asked her to do. She took upon herself to do, and she's already showing gratitude and leadership. So now we also have the gymnast of Mountain View High School. And you can see here, the gymnast in the yellow shirt is, we didn't suit up necessarily, but we did enjoy and congratulate them for winning first place in the SCVAL, and for really taking on a very difficult sport. And not too many high schools still have this, and we have real robust, strong programs. So thanks to our coaches and thanks to our students who participate and practice regularly for many, many years to be at this high level. Also wanted to share at Mountain View, congratulations to Amanda Ford. She was the 100 freestyle state champion. You can see her coach Rafi on the right, very excited for her, actually more excited than she is. So congratulations to her. And then the prom that we heard about with the roller coaster in the back, much more fun than a boring hall or restaurant. You can see just the joy that was going on in the with the late sunset, that you were able to participate and then still have the fun after dark. So great time, and it went very well. I know it takes a lot of work to put those things together. At Alta Vista, here we have students finishing the day, making flower bouquets for their mother figures in their life for Mother's Day. And Gina Estrada from our Mentor Tutor Connection partnership, she helped them make these gifts on the left. And they were very well received at home. And then on the right, and I noticed it was all female, Ms. Woolfolk, we had a water balloon on a hot day. And so one thing that I'm really seeing a lot of at Alta Vista this year is bringing the joy back onto the campus and making it a place where students want to be, even when they don't have to. So that's, you can see the fun going on and the different activities. Now going to staff appreciation, we had an expert crew on the left, and this is really the time of year where our Board of Education is able to honor our staff, and they do that with their service to them. And the staff really appreciated it greatly this year. And here you can see the Spartans having their staff appreciation. And here you can also see staff appreciation happening at Los Altos. Catherine looks very pleased there. And then you can also see the staff appreciation going on here with our team. So thank you so much, all of you, for participating. It was fun, it was jovial, and the vibe was good. I would be remiss if I didn't have photos of our Champion for Youth event. Challenge team put on the event where they celebrated 3 people within our community, Ted Lambert, Ava, and Ellen Wheeler, excuse me. And so Ava, of course, was the strongest, and Ted is in charge of a international corporation that helps children across the world. Ellen has served quite a long time, and with League of Women Voters and with Mountain View Wisman as a board member who just recently retired. And then Ava, who spoke to her work on our board and also opening up doors for students with disabilities, as well as championing the rights of young women in Iran. So we're very excited to celebrate her, and thanks to all who attended. And you did a great job in your speech. And speaking of great job on speeches, we brought back after many years our retirement event to celebrate our retirees. And President Felice did the honors of honoring each and every one of them. He found background information about them that was very difficult to dig up, and enjoyed himself while we all enjoyed celebrating our retirees. Special thanks to the personnel office, Layla Benson, Amy Vargas, for putting it together, decorating, and it was held at Michael's, and we look forward to continuing this tradition. And then, I'm stealing the punchline from our budget report. But it is extremely significant. Just two highlights. We have a proposed budget from the governor, and the two things that impact Mountain View Los Altos the most. The universal meals are continuing, and because there was such a demand and so many people were not able to find food for themselves and their families during the pandemic, the demand was much higher than they expected. So the governor is shifting funding into that budget, but we are planning to continue it for 23-24, and it will likely stay. So that is good news for the young people within our community. And then we did unfortunately have two cuts to our one-time monies. It was a $4.3 billion cut statewide because they're trying to fund the base for, in particular, local control funded schools. But we will see it with our discretionary grant that was for arts and music, a $1.4 million cut for MVLA. We were wise and did not jump into spending it right away because there were a lot of problems with it. And then our second cut is $500,000 for the Learning Recovery Block Grant. So two significant dings to our bottom line that have not been approved yet, but are likely we'll see some cuts to those two budgets. And then just important dates coming up. First of all, we had a fantastic study session on ethnic studies today at 4. Thank you to all who participated and the board, and to the teachers and Terry who've been working on this. And we will have our next board meeting June 5th, Monday, a regular board meeting where we hope to bring ethnic studies back. And then we will have Friday, June 9th is our annual end of year presentation of our departments. And I always put this, but I usually don't have to remind people there is a holiday Monday, May 29th. And you can also see our graduation ceremonies there. And with that, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Natalie.
So is the universal meals a new name for the free?
It is. Yeah, it's what they call it because now it's just automatic for everyone.
It's not reduced anymore.
It's not reduced. It's primarily federally funded, but the state does chip in.
I think that's money well spent.
I do too.
Well, we are at the point in our meeting where we have communication from our BTA or CSTA representative, and I see Mr. Dave Campbell, president of the BTA, here tonight. Welcome, Dave.
Thank you so much for having me. First of all, I do want to comment, I've had the pleasure of working with Ava and National Honor Society for the past couple of years. Debbie is awesome outside of this room than she is inside the room. And I have also had the pleasure of working with Sadie, and I think she's on as many committees as I am, and for that I apologize. But no, very wonderful student representatives that we have. So as you mentioned, I'm Dave Campbell, I'm president of the District Teachers Association, and I wanted to make some comments directed to our newly appointed Los Altos principal. And I did have a chance to speak with her before she left. She's also very far away like I do. So I wanted to welcome her to MVLA. We are a top district with top expectations, but that's only because we have the top students. I asked several Los Altos teachers what it was that made their school special, and every teacher said that it was our students and the diversity of our student body. Whether it's an avid freshman grinding through bio honors and refusing to give up, even though she's the only Latina student in her class, or an ASI student working on research that might help us find a cure for cancer someday in the very near future. We are in constant awe of our students. They make us better professionals, they make us better teachers, they make us better humans. In order to serve our outstanding and kind students, LAHS offers opportunities for diverse learning experiences that facilitate real-world skill development. Our passionate and driven staff will push them to be better every day and expect the same in return from our students. Our parent community is caring, demanding, and supportive. In MVLA, not just LAHS, we put our students first and are dedicated to making their high school experience challenging and fun. LAHS values the work that has been done to build consensus in decision-making. They're committed to using the WASC process as a tool to improve our already outstanding school. Staff at LHS also commented that, well, Los Altos is a family. They truly feel that their administration for who they are and values them as professionals as well as individuals. In most of the descriptions of LAHS, the elements that they appreciate the most were embedded compliments to win Saturday. She will be leaving behind a school that is equipped and prepared to continue growing, just like they have through her leadership. This is a school that absolutely, completely loves women. Every time her name is brought up in any discussions through our union, there are tears, and I mean that. I already told her that. So. Excuse me. So I got lost because I got emotional. So she will be leaving. They're all professionals who are very excited to help our new principal be successful. And as I told Dr. Glazer last year when she was hired, that her success is my success, and I truly believe it. I'm here to offer any support that I can to help Ms. Ranieri. Thank you for the pronunciation. I was wondering about that. Be successful. Dr. Glazer and I speak frequently in person via text or on the phone, and I commit to being available to her as much as I can to assist in any way. You've made an amazing choice. So thank you for that.
Thank you very much, Dave.
Have a good evening.
Thank you for the remarks. Okay, we are now ready for the consolidated motion. Catherine, do you want to pull something? Oh, I'm sorry. I skipped right through public comment. We have some requests. There we go.
What's your last
And
word?
our first request is from our student, Claire Schwartzhoff, supporting vaccines and vaccination. Claire? Please step up and say your piece.
Hello, my name is Claire Schroeder, and I'm currently a freshman at Mountain View High School. It's a pleasure to speak with you today. Recently, it's been said in the news that COVID-19 is no longer a global emergency. Even though this has been said, I still believe our schools should take precautions to prevent COVID-19 outbreaks. The best way to ensure this is if we promote vaccines. For statistics project in my math class, I looked at unvaccinated versus vaccinated cases per 100,000 people in California from February 2021 to January 2023, and saw that the differences were astounding. Getting a vaccine decreased the amount of COVID cases enormously. For example, during the peak of COVID cases in early 2022, in California, per 100,000 people who were unvaccinated, there were an average of 450 cases per day, while for people who were vaccinated, it was only an average of 161 cases per day. This meant that if you had the vaccine, you were 3 times less likely to get COVID. Or over some point over the past 3 years, if you had the vaccine, you were 2 to 9 times less likely to get COVID. This really stuck out to me, and I realized that getting vaccines would provide for a safer community. Ensuring that people get vaccinated would reduce the risk of a potential outbreak at our schools. For me and for others, I knew that it was definitely a struggle to go from in-person school every day to working at home in a new environment. I hope this never happens again and that we can prevent this. Currently, the World Health Organization is looking at giving vaccines to countries who do not have as much money to purchase the vaccines, whether it be offering a more easily accessible vaccine to our students or creating advertisements. I believe that this would create a huge impact on our community. It would be amazing if we put a reminder to people on the MVLA board, recommendation posters on weekly emails to promote getting a vaccine, or offer vaccines at our school once it's necessary to students who cannot get their vaccine on their own. This will allow us to for sure remain in person at school and also create a safer environment. Promoting vaccines will keep the Mountain View Los Altos School District safe. Science is giving us the upper hand when it comes to using the vaccine and getting rid of this global pandemic that has affected everyone in the world today. Thank you so much for your time and consideration.
Okay, thank you, Claire. Do we have any questions up there? Just a couple of comments, Claire. First of all, I circulated your report on the board members so that we'll have a chance, and Dr. Meyer has had a chance to look at it. Secondly, there are a couple of things you might want to consider in your efforts here. One of the points of resistance to getting vaccinated has been a concern, especially among young males, of myocarditis. And there are recent studies that indicate that the vaccine itself does not induce myocarditis. So that's an important thing, Jen, you might want to check. And just in today's San Francisco Chronicle, in the editorial page, the last page of the first section, the lead article is about strokes and vaccines and how a specific set of conditions could cause a stroke, but not having anything whatsoever to do with the vaccine, just being a case of it occurred after I got the vaccine. So I blame the vaccine, but the vaccine was not at fault. So these are two further strengthening arguments for your case. And I think something we all look forward to is the day when we start treating COVID as we now treat flu. It's a routine annual injection. We just go get it and we don't think about it anymore. So thank you for your help. Our next comment is from Antonio Peoples. Antonio?
Hi, I'm here with Mountain View High School Oracle. I'm one of the feature EICs, and Hannah Olson is also here. She's also one of the feature EICs. And I'm here just to give our class a voice in the changes that have been made this year, following next year. I'm really here to protect our future. I know I'm really concerned about it, but our whole class has really been concerned about the changes being made, and those are changing our advisor to the theater teacher, Mr. Pancho Morris, and from Carlo Gomez, who is our teacher right now, who everyone in the class adores and loves and really goes to for everything in the class. They really appreciate her, and the way she helps our class and guides our class has been really important to how successful we've been in writing our newspaper this year. So to change that, obviously, it's going to cause some concern when you tell us you're changing our advisor. So that's one of the things we're worried about, and the changes to the intro to journalism class, which is now considered production design. And to be honest, we really know very little about the changes being made to that. We have heard a few things. We've been told what could be of it, but we don't know anything for sure. And the reason I'm here is not to complain or to say, oh, we don't like any of the things that are happening. We're here simply to say that we would like to be consulted. We like to understand what's going on before it happened. We were kind of told, here's what's going to happen and here's the changes, but we were never consulted ahead of time, right? Everything that happens this year is planned before. I as an EIC have to go do meetings with my other EICs, with the teacher of the class, and talk about what's our plan for the coming year and how are we going to manage the class. And so when we find out all these changes are being made so late, it causes concern to all the class. And it's not to be like, oh, we don't want change. We just want to be consulted. We're a student-run publication. As a student-run publication, we feel like we should have a say in what our future holds. And I think that that's the only thing I'm here to really express about. I don't want to say that I don't want to come to a compromise. That's all I want to come to. I really want just the class to be understood, to understand that whatever decisions are being made, they're being made in the best decisions, the best interest of our class. And I feel like without being consulted, how can we make those decisions for our class? So I think if the school board and if Kip Blazer and everybody could really hear our voice, which has been amazing to hear all the Mountain View Voice wrote a story on it, Los Altos Town Crier wrote a story on it. Students are always asking me, hey, what's going on with Oracle? And it's really, there's nothing big that's happening if we come to a compromise and we understand that the school board wants to work with us. And that's really all I want here, is to understand that whatever our future holds, we want to have a say in it. And when the changes were being made, we weren't completely opposed against it. CTE credentials were kind of the idea and why the goal was of the class. And as CTE credentials are heard, our class actually thought that was a great idea. But the way that things are happening and how fast they're happening don't benefit the future of Oracle and how many students are going to be part of our class, how our class is going to be managed. So that's the only thing I'm here to say, is just so hopefully we can come to a compromise and continue to work together to find a better solution to our future.
Thank you, Antonio. And our next speaker is Hannah Olson.
So I'm here along with Antonio and Chrissy, who are going to be my co-editor in chiefs of the Oracle next year. I've always wanted to believe that the actions of my school's administration are taken in the best interest of the students. When I spoke at the board meeting 2 weeks ago about changes to the Oracle, I wanted to believe that Dr. Glazer was making these changes to our program purely for the reasons that she informed us of, because of our advisor's lack of CTE credentials and because of declined enrollment in intro to journalism next year. I'm disappointed to say that the Oracle believes that the replacement of our advisor and the elimination of introduction to journalism at FEHS will be detrimental to our program. A key concern I want to highlight is how our new advisor, Mr. Morris, is the head of the drama department at FEHS, and next year will spend 88 nights completely busy with drama. There are 18 production nights for the Oracle every year, and Mr. Morris has already informed us and Dr. Glazer that there will be overlap between drama and the Oracle on his schedule. We feel that he's being put in an unfair position, and we strongly advocate that the decision to remove Ms. Gomez be reconsidered. Ms. Gomez was told that the reason for her removal was that she's not CTE certified. She has consulted a CTE expert who believes that she could complete a credential in a year. We do not understand why the implementation of the CTE pathway is being rushed by admin, especially considering our advisor was consulted so little before she was removed. There has been inconsistency with how Dr. Glazer has told the Oracle and our advisors that she plans to support our program when we consider her actions. Mr. Kale was promised by admin that each student who signed up for Introduction to Journalism would be individually spoken to about the alternative options. Instead, admin sent a mass email to the students who signed up for this class, telling them that it was canceled. There was no mention of an alternative publication design class, which feels dishonest, disheartening, and inconsistent. You can imagine how these kind of inconsistencies cause alarm for Oracle and cause us to feel that the long-term success of our publication is in jeopardy. We have two proposals for Dr. Glazer, the school board, and admin at FEHS, and we hope you will consider why we suggest these compromises. The first is that we keep Ms. Gomez as our advisor for another year. Allow her to seek out the CTE credential that which she has told us that she can and would get. The alternative of replacing her with Mr. Morris will hurt the Oracle, since Mr. Morris has said himself that he does not have experience in journalism and would have significant overlap with the drama schedule. Ms. Gomez has the necessary experience and expertise as a journalism advisor, which we believe makes her qualified to keep this position, and it would be a shame to remove her purely because she lacks a CTE credential. Our second proposal is that in light of Introduction to Journalism's removal, admin follows through with their commitment to speak to every student about the alternative class options. We cannot allow Oracle's staff to deplete. It would be unfair to the students who want to be a part of journalism at FEHS. They're not informed of the option to join a publication design class or join Oracle right away. Listen to us when we say that this is not going to lead to a bright and successful future for our newspaper if these changes proceed. Please consider our concerns, listen to the members of our community who protest these changes, and above all else, protect student journalism at FEHS. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Hannah. Our next speaker is Amy Beer, formerly journalism teacher at the Oracle.
Right. Hello, I'm Amy Berry, and I'm here to express also my concern about recent changes to the journalism program at Mountain View High. I believe these changes could threaten one of the most authentic real-world experiences of collaboration, contribution, communication, and leadership that students can have at our school. I had the privilege of advising the Oracle for 10 years. And in that time, I had thousands of opportunities to be amazed by student journalists, by the freshmen heading bravely to their first interviews and the kind seniors accompanying them for moral support, by the resilience and good cheer during grueling production nights, by the editor's embrace of feedback during critique sessions, by the personal sacrifices students made to fulfill leadership positions, by the way those leaders built a caring community, by the Oracle students' commitment to informing their peers and providing a forum for free speech, by the incredible growth I saw in them from the time they joined to the time they graduated, by their creativity, their curiosity, and their courage. I got to see these things because the Oracle is a program that the state of California has uniquely empowered by giving student journalists rights and autonomy in our schools. Oracle is their program. They care about it. They work to improve it. They take full responsibility for it because it's theirs. It's a strong program because it's theirs. The Oracle program, supported enthusiastically by the community and up until now by the principal, school board, and district leadership, is so much more than a class that teaches students how to make a newspaper. As I read about the changes imposed on the program by the administration, two questions kept coming up in my mind. First, is it wise to throw away decades of institutional knowledge and experience by reassigning the two teachers who know the program deeply and are committed to its integrity and success? And to instead assign the advisory program to a brand new teacher who's also trying and doing an amazing job, by the way, goes Zach, to revive a struggling theater program? But my really important question is this. Why weren't the students in this student-run program involved in the discussions leading up to these changes? Had they been included, they would have been able to help administrators understand the full scope of what the Oracle provides to its student journalists. They would have been able to raise concerns from a perspective administrators don't have about how the changes might negatively affect the program. And they would have had excellent creative ideas about how the Oracle might become a successful CTE program. It's not too late to start this process over. As a collaborative exploration of an idea rather than as a done deal that could significantly undermine something truly valuable to our students. If there's one thing I learned from the Oracle, it's that the best decisions happen when people work together with mutual respect and open minds. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. And our next speaker is Scott Still.
Good evening. My name is Scott Sultan. I've lived in Mountain View since 2004, and I've spent my career as a public educator, most of the last 20 years at Aragon High School, teaching government, economics, and journalism. And I'm here because what I've read in the public reports about the situation at Mountain View journalism are deeply troubling. There's a certain lack of respect for truth that is tearing our entire society apart. There's a wave of censorship. Okay? There are death threats against administrators in my district and school board members, perhaps. You were talking about ethnic studies earlier, and a whole bunch of other things. How can we rebuild a civic culture in this nation that respects truth seeking, that holds public officials accountable, and provides a constructive forum to resolve conflict respectfully? I'd say that student journalism is an outstanding way to do that. Okay? As you've heard, like the students are really in charge of these programs. That is just a norm in our world. It's a project-based curriculum. It's performance. You're publishing to the public. So the students are motivated to do their best work and they're trying to seek truth. It's not gossip, right? It's on the record journalism where if it's not true, it shouldn't get through. Now here's how we don't build a civic culture. Running schools like corporations with PR departments. Okay, I'm appalled that the principal at Mountain View High School went to the journalism class and told them that their job was to make the school look good. That's not okay. That is not their job. Their job is to seek truth and report it. Okay, most of our country doesn't know how to read the media, follow the media, understand what's going on, true or untrue, even from sources that are trying to speak truth. Those corporate values are not helpful. What's more important than civic education? Really? I mean, we've had 20 years of STEM education and closing the achievement gap in individual job skills and all. None of that's going to matter if the Constitution is on fire and we have a rising tide of fascism in this country. And for a wealthy school district like Mountain View to de-emphasize journalism at this point in history, I just can't agree with that. Now, I can't really speak to the particularities of the staffing and the CTE, but it kind of does look like the CTE issue is an excuse for, not retaliating against a particular teacher. I don't have a CTE credential. No one in my district gives a darn about that. I have 20 years experience. So I've done stories like sexual harassment and racial conflict and had my student journalists, interview the administration critically, and they still give us access, even when they step in it and say something on the record that they regret, because they understand that it's not their role to be out there making the school look as good as possible every second of the day. the school board has been celebrating student excellence for like the first half of the meeting that I attended. Student journalists can do this work with a good advisor. A totally inexperienced advisor, you know, that person is going to have to be careful about those touchy stories until they learn about the legal implications, libel law, privacy law. It's reasonably complicated, and you got to learn it case by case. You got to learn it by doing it, and it takes a few years. So you're gonna get rid of an experienced advisor and put in someone green. I don't understand that. So what's more important, promoting truth, civic education, or covering for a hasty decision by an inexperienced site principal? I hope you do the right thing.
Our next speaker is Paul Pandell.
Thank you for having me back here again. I'm here representing the Journalism Education Association of Northern California. Out of respect for your time and just a wonderful appreciation for the previous four speakers, especially the two students here who have articulated very clearly what the concerns are. I'm not going to use all of my time. So thank you very much. I hope you do the right thing. It's not too late to change course.
Thank you, and I don't believe I see any more green sheets, so I thank all the speakers, and we will move on to the consolidated motion now. Is there a request to pull anything from the consolidated motion?
No, but earlier we said 16-1 and 116-1.
So,
I would like to move that we approve the consolidated motion 16.1 to 16.14 minus 16.5, which was pulled by staff. And we approved earlier with the agenda.
right. Okay, any second for the motion? Seconded by Sandra. So we're voting to approve all of the items on the agenda except for 16.5. Any discussion? Let's go to the student board members. Sadie.
I approve.
I love.
I approve.
Thank you both. Board members, raise your hand. Think about it, saying aye, you approve. Yeah. Okay, we are now up to item 18, business action items, the first reading of the LTAP and the annual review report.
Like to add. Karen Bach to and present her great work on our website.
Good evening, trustees. My pleasure. So today I will be doing the first reading of our local control and accountability plan. Just a little reminder, the first reading takes place. This is set off then by public comment, which is posted on our website. And then at our subsequent meeting, the local control and accountability plan will be up for approval. So this is the first reading. The format that you've received on your agenda last week is the requirements by the state and ensuring that we report all important aspects that are expected of our local control and accountability plan. So today I am going to, as our agenda, review our plan, just touch up on the purpose of the LCAP. And by the way, Sanjay, that's local control and accountability plan, not the mountain to climb. El Capitan. Review our goals, actions, and budget. And then some updates on revisions and next steps. So the purpose of the local, the LCAP are a couple of different factors. One is it sets up for 3 years. So it's a 3-year plan, and it has us do a deep dive into the data, work with our educational partners, and determine what we feel are the necessary goals to set forth for the district. It also ensures that we have our actions written to meet those goals, and so that the actions are clearly articulated to support what we feel are the goals, as well as are we able to fund those actions and where are we getting those actions funded from. And then the last one is it looks at our outcomes and do we see the data indicating that we're having success on our actions and our outcomes. A few reasons why this is very important for us is one, the LCAP ensures that we're really focused on student learning indirectly or directly, but the last point is this going to be touching and supporting our students? The second piece is this not only supports that we're working with all students, but it also has us do a deep dive in those underrepresented groups, typically those smaller populations that may have gotten overlooked, that we are truly working and supporting them. And that includes our English language learners, our foster youth, and our low income populations. Again, I mentioned that it focuses on student outcomes. And the last piece is that it asks that all of our arrows are aligned with all of our other work. So we take a look at our WASC plans, our SIPSA plans, the California 8 priorities, and work to make sure that our goals and actions are supporting our entire work for the district. So we're not outliers in our efforts. So with that, in 2021, when we set forth to create our 3-year plan, the 21 to 24 LCAP, we deemed these 4 goals as our necessary goals for our district. Academic excellence for all students, lifelong learners, that's really geared towards professional learning for all of our staff. Educational partnership, communication and engagement, and safety and wellness. And so I'm going to go into a little bit of a deeper dive into these 4 goals, but I just want to remind us that our goals are in line with our WASP, with what our SIPSAs are supporting and vice versa. So this is the Los Altos and the Mountain View WASP plans. And if you take a close look at it, you can see that we have wellness in all 3 plans. We have equity or equitable experiences in all 3 plans. We have learning and academic excellence in all 3 plans, the usage of data. And so this, if you think about shooting all of your arrows at one target and the big impact that would make on that target, that's the purpose of ensuring that all of our work is also is aligned. And so I'm going to start off with goal number 1. This is an update of our actions as well as our expenditures. And beyond this, I just want to point out some of the big accomplishments that we should be proud of for our district when it comes to academic excellence for all students. This year, I would be okay either. Perhaps wait till the end. If you're okay with that, and then we can ping pong back and forth. Cool, thank you. So for goal number 1, some of our biggest accomplishments are we opened up an English language learner program at Los Altos High School this year that include various sections of ELD 1, 2, and 3. They supported EL4s into their freshman English class, as well as opened up a handful of social study classes specifically targeted for English language learners. We are continuing to support our newcomer program that includes a very strong onboarding from interview to setting up a buddy to ensuring wraparound services to our newcomer class and advisory. We expanded our career and technical education, our CTE program, moving into next year. We added 8 new pathways, 7 new sectors, a total of 17 pathways for the start of next year. That's a lot of hard work that our sites as well as our CTE program specialists did this year. We also are supporting a WE, which is a work experience program that supports students who are currently working and doing job coaching, work experience support, etc. We increased the amount of industry as well as community members into our classroom. We had many bilingual speakers, community members, industrial folk come into our classroom to talk with our students about what their journey, their career is, the path that they took. Many of them talked about the obstacles in their path and how they overcame those obstacles, as giving inspiration for our students not to give up. The feedback from our student with these bilingual speakers is phenomenal about how just inspirational, how they saw their story and the speaker's story. And that's one of the ways that we're promoting academic excellence, is this partnership with our community, but allowing our students to explore career observations in their classes. And with that, we also expanded the amount of field trips our students took this year to industry, not just visiting college campuses, which is important for a student in high school to explore college campus and feel it and see themselves on the campus, but also go to various industries like LinkedIn, Google. We went to several green career industries as well, and they got to explore what those careers are and meet the people in those fields. And lastly, under academic excellence, we expanded our co-teaching. Co-teaching is when there's a special education and a general education teacher working together to have an inclusive environment with special education students in a college prep class, where they may not have typically been able to access that without all of the scaffolding and support. And with that increase of co-teaching, we're seeing not just the success of our students in special education, but also that inclusivity that we really want to create for all students and being able to work with all students. I'm going to move into our next goal, and I want to, beyond what is on the slides, just point out a couple other highlights. A lot to be proud of for our family partnership, which is a very diverse partnership council from parents to staffing to various ethnicities and backgrounds. We did some updating on we worked with our partnership, our middle school partnerships. We supported Equity Week with our students. Our college counselors did visits multiple times with the students to ensure that they understood how to sign up for classes, but then went back and worked with students and some of the more struggling populations of not knowing how to navigate the system as well. We also worked with district administration, my Ed Services department, with student service over at Mountview Wisman and the equity director. We put on a webinar for our families. Again, working with that partnership that's so important to bridge that connection between the middle school to high school. We started a student advisory for our superintendent and students this year. We are rolling out our graduate profile, which was a collaborative effort from all community members. And we have a climate committee as well that's made up of diverse members, including students, that supports that increasing engagement and partnerships from various community members. I just want to point out, with the increased parent involvement at the site and district level, that comes from a numerous amount of ways, from our various parent committees to our MBLA speaker series, but it also includes with our Latinx families, the PK, which is an educational program that takes a big commitment of many months of attending classes. We also supported parents going to a PAVE conference, which is an English language learner conference, and knowing that parents are a big part of that English language learner community. We partnered with Foothill, who also did a fabulous job of multiple classes for our English language learner families, and not just talking about how to navigate the high school, but really how high school is connected to a community college and giving them a better understanding about how to make that connection as a parent, just to name a few of those examples. For our goal number 3, which is focused around wellness and safety, a couple points beyond what's written on these actions that I want to dive into that we should be proud of for our accomplishments this year. One, we have bilingual therapists to support our students, so that way we're ensuring that if a student is struggling, we have a therapist there that is able to meet those needs. Both campuses have bilingual bicultural therapists in Spanish and another language at one of the campuses, and I am not remembering that off the top of my head. We're increasing our group sessions So moving not just from that one-on-one support in mental health, but also creating some group sessions, some group support, which is more of a tier 2. We're working with behavioral intervention. So if the student is struggling with a concerning behavior, consequence and conversations are part of that, but also what is the learning aspect of this, and supporting this with a program called Ripple Effects, which has gotten positive feedback last year from our administrators who use this. So we continued it again this year and increased those services and got stronger positive feedback. So we're rolling into full implementation of that behavior intervention strategy. We opened up wellness center at all 3 of our schools this year. We are promoting social emotional professional learning. We just had a big kickoff that took place in April, followed up with sessions this month for our staff. Just to give a few examples of the support with the wellness and safety. And the last goal is our lifelong learner, which is really about supporting our staff to continue to strengthen and refine their practices so that we're working the best that we can with our students. A couple pieces that I'll just highlight on this. So one of these is that we are continuing to work under our pillars of professional learning, which is equitable grading, culturally responsive education, and discipline-specific literacy. We promoted professional learning under all of these, and we did a small pilot this year on a program called Constructing Meaning, which helps all students build sophistication and discipline-specific literacy of the class. It also has been very well known to support English learners and reclassified English learners with certain structures and routines. The pilot that we did with 18 teachers had resounding positive comment. And so we're rolling this out into what we're calling cohort number 2 next year, which is 50 teachers going through this program. And then the following year, we'll go through cohort number 4 and supporting all teachers from having consistent scaffolded routines and structures to support all learners, but in particular, some of our learners that show that they struggle in the classroom accessing curriculum. We also, under professional learning, provided professional learning for our classified staff. In fact, we funded what we thought would be around $5,000 for professional learning, and we more than doubled the spending because of the amount of professional learning that we are able to offer our classified staff, from attending conferences and workshops that are specific to what they do, to providing in-person internal, from trauma-informed practices to IA instructional aid training, to CPR, which was a request by our classified. In addition to that, we also provided professional learning to our department coordinators, who carry a heavy task of leading their department, and not just school and district initiatives, but hard conversations, working with individual teachers. And we also supported an admin council, which is professional learning and collaboration for all district administrators. And we meet roughly monthly with this. And I just want to say that that's a real big commitment from our administrators at the site. That was a lot. Before I move into the next element, how about I just pause and see if there's any clarifying questions on the goals?
Yes, I do have some questions. I said
If you're okay, I'll repeat the question and answer it.
yes.
Okay, great. So one of the questions that you asked was about in goal number 1.9 was about open access. So how are we not just telling students if you can or cannot join a class? We're allowing students to sign up for any college prep, honors, AP class, but also what are we doing to support them in being able to be successful in this class? And it shows that we didn't fund the open access at all. That funding, and sometimes there's overlap between one goal and another. So the funding that we did for the professional learning to support staff and including supporting students from open access was put under the professional learning goal 4 initiatives. And so it was funded, it just didn't duplicate itself by showing the funding in 2 different places. So thank you for asking that clarifying question. And then the second one that you asked was about promoting parent participation of individuals with exceptional needs. That was items like our adult transition program, held an art show. We held a meeting with our special education parents to get feedback. With our best buddies, our school dances to support students with disabilities. So that's where some of that funding came in. And it shows no for the contributing action on the LCAP. And so the question is, why was it no? Contributing action is specifically saying, is this working toward our English language learners, our low income or our foster youth? And even though some of our students with disabilities may have maybe in one of those other categories, that particular goal wasn't necessarily focused on those three demographics, but more of just our special education program in general.
Okay, so Scott, would that be a Latinx engagement? Would that be where that is?
Could you clarify that question?
So where is the item where you're hoping parents who have Spanish speaking parents who have children with exceptional needs, because that's a whole navigation system. And especially if you don't speak English or you're not, and especially if you're not familiar with our school system. It's hard for parents who speak English to navigate it sometimes. So I was wondering where that support comes in.
Great question. And in particular with 2.2, with working with families with students with special needs, it's all rolled into 2.2. What I'm hearing from you is, as we move forward, continue to parse out our families of English learners or our families of Latinx or Spanish speaking families to better target a support system that they may need in addition to our families with students with special needs.
Yes, because I think it's a challenge. It's a challenge for many families. I think it's a particular challenge. I've heard from Spanish speaking families themselves that it's a challenge. We're missing kids because they want to do what the school tells them to do, and they don't really understand how to say, well, my child has this need that they're being met by the school in a respectful way.
Understood. Thank you.
Sorry, I have a question possibly in connection with that.
Yes.
So I noticed under goal 2, item 2.5, Latinx engagement.
Yep.
The planned expenditures were 25,000. And the actual estimated expenditures are 243,000.
Yep.
About a factor of 10 greater.
Yeah.
What was the reason for that?
So as I worked with business and looked at our Latinx engagement, we have bilingual liaisons that are big conduit between our Latinx family and what we're doing on the school site. And in the past, we did not include them in our expenditures and felt that that was a major oversight, as they are such a big part of that Latinx engagement. And so we added their salaries, and I think I explained that in, I have to explain anything that's over 20%. And so that's all we did, was make an adjustment in what we included within that expenditure.
Good, adequately explained, thank you.
Just a comment on actually the same item. So I was looking at some of my notes as I was listening to some of the examples you were giving specific to this goal. And I got a lot of positive feedback from some members from the LPO group about the, and I think we're talking about the same thing, the Family Engagement Institute at Foothill, because it seemed like a much more comprehensive series of sessions than the PK, I think, family workshops. And a big thing that really stood out from the examples that they were giving in terms of what they walked away with was the SEL focus
Mhm.
in combination with, like school success, academic success, whereas it sounded like he could focus a little bit more on the academic side of things.
Mhm.
And parents really appreciated the SEL lens, and I think they walked away with just like eye-opening moments and like self-reflection on how they can best support their child. So I think it was a pilot year or a pilot this year, but I would really encourage us to continue that.
Thank you for advocating for that. We had a DLAC meeting this past Thursday. And one of the items that we discussed was our, partnership and education series, and that we may not continue with PK next year with such positive feedback from the Foothill program. And the two are nearly the same. It's just the Foothill program offers so much more. And so I appreciate hearing that as
Yeah,
well.
that resonates with what I heard also. And I wonder if some of it also is PK is offered at the elementary school level, and I think that's what they named that. If they had participated in that, it felt a little bit repetitive.
Agreed, thank you. Great.
I just want to second what you said about the SEL needs of teenagers and how them parents, whatever job they can, if they're to school. Go to bed and they're out there trying to fight things like that, it can really make a huge difference. And that's something I think that I can do. And I think a lot of parents don't know that. So I think especially for families that are already have hurdles to know there are things that specific things they can do as a parent, which is what SEL is about, to basically help their child succeed in school.
I thank you for that. I completely agree. We continue to offer robust opportunities for our families to engage in professional, understanding SEL, social emotional learning, from our the foundation parent night series to our Foothill work, to the sites pushing out memos and tips for the parents. Like I said a little earlier, we did a collaboration between Mountain View, Los Altos and Mountain View Wisman for a webinar for a family. And a huge portion of that was about social emotional learning and how that transition from middle school to high school can look. So we're repeating this conversation from different angles because it is a partnership from the school doing what they can, the parents doing what they can. And if we're aligning our work, then it just strengthens the support for our students. So thank you for that feedback, and I will just wrap it up with my last few slides. One of the elements of the LCAP is to ensure that we have engagement with our various partners. I have a small list of organizations or committees that have influenced this LCAP plan, from staff only, like Cabinet Admin Council, Wellness Committee, Professional Learning Committee, Equity Steering Committee, to those that incorporate our parents as well, our DLAC, District English Learner Advisory Committee, and our Family Partnership. The comments that we have obtained from all of these committees, in addition to what has been posted, I want to just note a couple other pieces. Particularly our DLAC group said that the Spanish speaking therapist was a big help and appreciated of ensuring that at both sites we have a bilingual, bicultural Spanish speaking therapist. That there was great appreciation for the ELG program to open up at Los Altos this year. Knew that was a lot of work from the district last year and a lot of work from Los Altos High School to doing such a successful job this year. Families are asking that we continue to present a variety of post-secondary options. So the variety means more than just promoting four-year college, but the two-year college is a successful track. Traveling abroad could be a successful track. And how are we promoting, like I said, just a variety of options for students in a celebratory way, so a student doesn't feel lesser than if they are not going for a year next year. Appreciation for the work around the admin or the family partnership, and just that collaboration, and this was from the parents, have been very helpful to sit in the room with a variety of other parents and staff and board members and talk about certain important initiatives, as well as being able to weigh in on the graduate profile, Our families of students with special need really appreciated not just maintaining the co-teaching, but seeing that it's growing. And knows that that's a way that we're including an inclusive campus for all of our students. So lastly, for next year, we will continue our final round of the LCAP. And next year, as we're continuing our final round of the LCAP, the following year starts a new plan. Now, we could keep some or all of these goals if we feel after doing our data dive and analysis with our partners that these are the same 4 goals, or we may change all or some, but we will start a new LCAP cycle, 3-year cycle, and starting in 24-25. And so next year we'll be putting together a committee that meets throughout all of the year to be able to do an analysis of what will be our LCAP for the 24-27 school year, and perhaps a mid-year report from myself to the board, just giving an update at where this committee is at so far would be helpful. And that concludes our, we have a local control and accountability plan on our website, and it's open for public comment. So that concludes our LCAP.
Thank you, Terry.
Are there any other questions that I may help with, or shall we go over budget?
So this says public hearing. Usually when it says that, there's a separate public hearing section of the meeting. Is that required here? No.
It's not. Only public comment is required for LCAP.
Oh, okay. So it's not really a public hearing. Yeah.
That should be straight through.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Here's Mike.
Thank you, yeah. And as provided by the state, LCAP and budget do go hand in hand, especially for state funded districts. It is very much tied to it. Less so for our district, but still valuable that the numbers and resources match the priorities of the district. So this is just a reminder, the very high level overview. It's kind of a preview of what's to come, big picture budget items. The more detailed budget will be presented at the June 5th meeting with subsequent adoption planned for June 9th. So these are just the underlying assumptions that really drives the final numbers and where the bottom line falls out. So we're currently projecting an unrestricted surplus of $274,000. So that's a good thing. Surplus is always better than a deficit when we're doing budget planning. Dr. Meyer alluded to some of the impacts that are causing that number to be smaller than it otherwise would, and that has to do with potential state cuts of the one-time money. But we'll get to that. But that's how things are looking, at least on the unrestricted side of the general fund. On the restricted side, we talked before about we carry over balances. So we start with a balance of money from prior years that we spend down. So sometimes you see more spending than income in that year, but that's because you're spending dollars from prior years. So that's kind of a one big picture takeaway. We're projecting and assuming property tax growth of secured property tax at 7%. You can see that equates to just under $7 million more in dollar revenue. But we feel pretty confident in that number. We've been tracking the month-to-month roll growth, excuse me. And that's what we use to make that projection. And we look at our district in particular. The county provides those numbers. So, you know, we hear national, we hear statewide, we hear countywide or Bay Area wide information. That's all good and fine. But we want to look locally at the communities of Mountain View, Los Altos, and Los Altos Hills. So that's the number we're using for next year. When you look at total revenue, though, and why we call this out is that although secured property tax might be growing by 7%, and that's the driver of our revenue, total revenue, though, only increases by 0.5 percentage point. And that is twofold. Secured property taxes is not all of our property tax income. We also get some state money, $2.9 million a year in state aid. We get other federal money. We get other local donations. But the other comparison is in the current year, 22-23, was when we received a lot of that one-time money from the state. So that goes off the book. So when you compare total in some summation, total revenue year to year, next year we'll have more secured property taxes, but it's balanced out with less one-time money from the state. So when you look at the bottom line, that's why the percentage increases look the way they do. But we plan for that and we know that. So we spend the one-time money on one-time items, equipment, supplies, maybe a temporary contract. We don't spend it on long-term commitments of ongoing staff. We update every year the average cost of a teacher, that's salary and benefits, because that helps us just understand when we grow programs or enrollment grows, what's the cost? You know, when we say, hey, can we add a person here, add a person there? These are not small and significant numbers when we're looking at the cost of a full-time employee. With our district salaries and very generous compensation package and those salary-driven costs like pension costs and other things, that's the average cost we're looking at these days. This budget next year does assume a 5% salary increase because next year will be year 3 of the 3-year agreement we had with our employee associations with 5%, 5%, 5% each in 3 years. So that's known, that's been agreed to. So we include that in the budget next year. Following years, there is no such agreement yet in salaries, so we don't include a salary increase assumption with that. The Shoreline EER, the Educational Enhancement Reserve, JPA, we are still including $3.4 million from that agreement. We are working with the city on a successor agreement to extend it, for lack of a better word, and we're confident in those talks with the city. They have voiced their support of providing the school districts at minimum the amount we received this year, as well as some additional funding. Although nothing's been signed yet, we are including that in our calculations because the city's made it very strong that they are committed to providing that payment next year. And then continuous programs and staffing really just implies there's no significant increases in programs. We're not doubling middle college this year like we did a few years ago, right? Which is a more significant program change, nor significant reductions. We do always kind of right-size staffing based on enrollment and growth of programs at various schools or specific needs of students, but we don't start from zero every year. We kind of take the current programs, roll them over, and assess them as we go. So those are the significant assumptions that build in the budget for next year. Along with that are the retirement costs that we know are expensive. STRS at least is flat. That's the state teachers retirement system. PERS continues to grow. So you can see the numbers there, the percentage that are driven by salary costs. We're assuming medical benefits increase of 10%. We have a little bit of a preview that Kaiser might be as high as 15%. Something from school services indicated, some reports they're getting from Northern and Southern California indicate that could be significant. Now, more of our dollars and more of our employees are with Cigna, so there's kind of a balance there, but we're using 10% as that assumption. Unemployment insurance, it's not a large amount, but it's representative of there are these costs for which we don't have any control. And historically, it was 0.05%. You might recall, or I'll remind you that coming out of COVID, there was a lot of unemployment insurance claims. Not all of them were real, shall I say. And so that rate actually went up to 0.5%, from 0.05 to 0.5 in a single year. So that's what we were paying this past year. So it's going down to 0.2, but it's still up from its historical number of 0.05. So it's just an example of how these numbers are just told to us and we have to build them in the budget without offsetting revenue necessarily from the state to cover that. And then lastly, as I mentioned, we do have carryover of those one-time funds. We have 3 more years to spend the educator effectiveness grant, which there's, I think, about 800,000 or so still left. So we work closely with Ed Services, a lot of professional development and support for all of our staff on that, the A through G Success Grant, and some, but less, carryover of one-time funds that the state provided this year. Looking ahead, and part of the budget you'll see is the multi-year projection, making sure we're solvent both next year and the 2 subsequent years. Our enrollment projections are based upon our demographic study, which is reaching the end of its 10-year projection, if you can believe it. So part of our task is to commission a new one, and that's also going to help us with our ongoing conversations with the city and looking at what's going on with student generation from new housing throughout the city. For the first 3 to 4 years of that demographic study, we were trending on the high. So they said most likely low and high projection. We were following the high projection. We've since come down to the most likely projection with about 3 or 4 years of that. So what we've done here is basically an average of the delta, the change year to year in enrollment, not looking just at the high or just the most likely, but the average between the two, which gives you projection of a decrease of 44 students in the following year, and then 68 the year after that. I don't have that number in front of me. I'm looking at Terry, but I don't want to put on the spot where exactly we are. I think. Yeah, I mean, we're pretty steady. I mean, you know, even these numbers, 44 is, you know, what, 1% out of our overall district enrollment. So we're bucking the trend statewide, a lot of countywide trends in terms of enrollment, at least being more flat. Yes.
So I think I heard Dr. Meyer whispering, but how many students are there in a class? I mean,
We staff at a target of 29 to 1.
29 to 1.
But every full-time teacher teaches 5 classes. Most students take 6. So you need, you know, a little more. It's about 25 students is equals a teacher, roughly. So if you do like 29 times 6 sections divided by 5, you get like 1.2 something FTE needed. So yep.
So what would be your high numbers? Because I'm just wondering, because I think there was an effect of sort of still feeling the effects of COVID. You know, people make this good and some people are not we're not going to pull them out for that. We'll go to public school or private school. During COVID, we didn't have like people couldn't go on local campuses and play sports and all that kind of thing. So what would be the high numbers?
Well,
Okay, we're still in COVID.
yeah, I mean, the high in 24, 25. I think the smaller delta was like 32, losing 32 students. So on the flip side, it was, you know, losing 52 students, right? So it was somewhere in between.
Okay.
You know, the 2 things I'll say. One is because we're not a state-funded district, funding and enrollment aren't tied, and where most districts this is crucial is that those students, you know, equate to dollars. Right, so they have attendance office staff, 4 or 5 people at each school site. They're getting the average daily attendance, you know, higher. They're, you know, looking at this every year. Also, K through 12 district is looking at birth rates, you know, preschool rates, who's coming into their system. The benefit we have is not only is this more than a year away, but you know, we're looking at what's happening in the middle schools and some metric data. You know, to look at. So when enrollment goes down, state funded districts are like, oh, that's money we're using. For a community funded district like ours, we say, oh, okay, what's the impact and adjustment we can make of that? Because revenue, for the most part, is disconnected.
You know, I understand that, but it sounds like even the high number is not that different.
Correct.
You're not saying it's gonna be like 100 more students, which would mean we'd actually have to maybe think about adding in classrooms.
Yeah, and our classroom capacity, I think I mentioned in the prior either email to Dr. Meyer that she may have shared or in a meeting. I mean, our classroom capacity is around 700 additional students we can house with the current construction about to be completed. I think it was a follow-up from last board meeting, if I recall correctly. So in terms of housing students, there's a lot of confidence in our ability to house enrollment growth. The impact to us is just right sizing the staffing as enrollment goes up or down, and you know, what programs those students might be served by. So this is, although it's not zero, you know, we talk a lot about kind of where we're plateauing, which is what the demographic study actually indicated for the most part. The peak dipped slightly and maintain somewhat of a status quo, separate from all the additional housing growth that was not included at that time and not known about, frankly.
That was my question. So this was done 10 years ago.
Yeah, 2016, updated in 2017. Jack Schrader and Associates did an additional update, I think November 2017, in which they looked at new housing that had come online and had an even higher projection. And I have that table, I can provide it to you. We have not come close to hitting those like revised projections included new housing growth in the 2 years that have passed from the original demographic study. It's the subsequent update you do. So I can go forward those or share with Dr. Meyer to send on to you.
So does that say that some of the housing growth that has already happened counteracted some of the drop in number of students that might have been projected otherwise? And so that's why we're kind of like evened out or not?
It could. It's not my area of expertise as the consultants that do it. And some of it is some of that new housing coming on. It's a newer type of housing stock. So I think they're getting more data on the number of students generated by that, like micro units or smaller type units that aren't as quantified.
Started to dig into that.
Yeah.
North Bay Shore consideration at all.
Yeah,
Or even some of the other housing starts in the city of Mountain View.
that have already happened, yeah.
I think one thing we might be overlooking is the effect of the pandemic on those projections. Because as a result of the shutdown of the schools, many parents withdrew their students from public schools and actually moved. And that reduced the student population that was originally included in projection. So, yep, we might have that effect.
I think that's what I was saying is, parents either withdrew or they didn't enroll their kid in the first place because, we have a lot to offer, but we have a lot less to offer than
So looking at the future years as well, we are using 5% secured property tax growth in each of those years. We used to step it down. We kind of go like if next year's 7, we drop it down to 6 or 5 or 5 and 4, being very conservative. We have not had less than 5. This is, I think, my 9th or 10th year in the role. Now we've experienced very positive secured property tax growth, but looking at historical trends and trying to use that to anticipate the future. 4 or even 3 just seem too low given the strong foundation our assessed valuation has in this area. What I will say to counter any concerns about, oh, is that too high, is that there aren't expenditure obligations built into that require us to hit that number, or else it's a deficit, if that makes sense. So 5% we think is an accurate projection. The 3rd year is always the hardest to predict, but we're not putting ourselves in a situation where, wow, we better hit that 5% or else we can't pay for the things which we're building in that budget. So we'll see how that pans out. That's always a year-to-year thing, and that's why we monitor and look ahead to the out year, what's happening. SERS, we mentioned, that stays flat for the time being. PERS continues to grow, so that cost just keeps escalating. And it was already mentioned, but the news in the California state budget and the May revision, Governor Newsom introduced the concept of cutting the arts, music, and instructional materials discretionary block grant. I would emphasize discretionary in that title, because actually most of the money is discretionary. He introduced about a 33% reduction in January. I think a lot of folks said, oh, that's just leverage, putting it out there to then get, okay, we don't want to cut that. Where else do we cut? I think a lot of us were surprised to see not only has it remained, but the cut has gotten bigger. And he proposed cutting some from the Learning Recovery Emergency Block Grant as well. As Dr. Meyer mentioned, we have not committed those funds or earmarked them for certain things yet. So we haven't spent all those funds. So we're fortunate to be in that situation. So it allows us to move some things around. Even a lot of one-time contracted positions we were going to use those funds for to pay for next year are offset. We'll go back to the beginning side, are offset by unrestricted general fund dollars that were available, that weren't committed to anything else. But there are some districts, especially the Learning Recovery Block Grant, districts have already received 100% of those funds, cash in hand. Many of them have spent it. So one of the big questions is, how in the world does the state ever, if that goes through, how does it actually take money back from districts once they've apportioned it and given it to districts? I'm sure they'll think of an accounting way to do that. But I share that just, if you're talking with other colleagues, especially state funded districts or CSBA events, That's a significant thing to schools when you say, hey, here's the money, please go spend it. Districts have spent it, and then the state says, oh, we're actually going to reduce that by half or a third of what you thought you had. So although it's one-time funds and it keeps intact the LCFF funding for state-funded districts, it's still a significant impact to many districts. We're balancing their budget with those funds. I just want to mention that's about 1.9 million for MVLA, the cuts to those two areas. So we'll monitor that. Hasn't been approved. The state budget gets approved usually mid-June. So we'll work in the summer and update everyone on what actually passed by the state. We'll continue to monitor property tax, enrollment, staffing. As we mentioned, the ongoing talks with the city on the shoreline revenue. We talked about the possible reduction one-time funding. Also, Prop 28 was passed in November. That's for arts and music and schools funding. It's 1% of Proposition 98 funding. So Prop 98 is the K-12 school funding. No specific dollar amount has been given yet because they don't know how much Prop 98 will be. So you don't know what 1% of it will be, right? To therefore allocate to schools. So we know it's coming. Schools need to develop a plan. The cash actually won't be provided to districts until January 2024. And at the budget workshop I went to last Friday, they reminded us districts actually have 3 years to spend the amount that's provided in that first year. So there is the sentiment of like, let's all go slowly with that, just because the dollar amount is still to be determined. And there is time to spend this fund. So in case you've been hearing about Prop 28, I know it's got people excited, rightly so, but we don't actually have a specific dollar amount. We have estimates, but we also had estimates for these two block grants. We know what happened with that. So Prop 28 obviously was a separate proposition passed outside of the budget, but it's on the horizon, but we've yet to include revenue or expenditures for that in the budget.
So you're not even gonna guess, because if this is a 51% reduction on the block grant version of it, but then this is the Proposition 28 version of it.
Well,
Can't
so,
even guess.
I mean, we have estimates, and school services provided an estimate. We've already provided the sites, start thinking around what that might look like. And there's a certain percentage that has to go to people costs, staffing costs, or contracted folks. So they've been able to start talking about that. The language of the proposition is very school specific. It actually takes the district leadership, I'd say oddly, out of some of that conversation to help kind of coordinate that. So there's a lot intent at the site level. So we have estimates. We've shared that. And I can pull that back and provide that, but that's as close as we've gotten this morning.
So I read that bill and it seemed pretty restricted. Would that be your,
Parts of it are. I mean, it does say, hey, like I said, 80% has to be on people. It has to be at the sites. There's a certain formula for how the dollar amount is calculated. That has to do with like your overall student numbers, enrollment, and then how much of our students are the low-income foster youth, EL learners in the state. So you get, each school gets a share based upon that. I'd say what's positive about it, it's not just performing arts or music specifically or visual arts, it is the arts and music as a whole. So in that way, some latitude. There are certain times I look at it as a high school district and think it was, I wonder if it was written primarily for elementary districts, which often have like a roving, music teacher that goes to school each day. And many of those were cut during, COVID and some of the funding there. So it's a way to kind of revive that. Whereas sometimes I wonder, hey, the high school programs, we have full-time music, choir, drama, dance, art teachers. We continue to do this. It's an A-G requirement, things of that nature. So we will be back June 5th with adoption plan. And June 5th, prior to that, we'll post the full self budget for the public as well.
Very good. Thank you, Mike.
thank you.
Okay, I think that concludes that section of our agenda. Moving us to item 19.1, which is future board meetings or suggestions. I think things are pretty clear cut for the immediate future. Communications, correspondence, is there any? Very good, thank you. The next board meeting will be the regular meeting, Monday, June 5th, here at the LAPO. And the future board meeting dates are as shown, with June 9th being the last one of this school year. Our student board members are invited to leave whenever they would like. We are at the point now for adjournment anyway.
Too late.
So do I have a motion for adjourn?
I would like to move that we adjourn.
Moved by Catherine, seconded by Esma, that we adjourn. Ava, are you ready to adjourn?
Yeah,
Okay.
I approve.
Okay, great. Board members, all in favor, signify by raising your hand and saying aye. Motion carries 5-0.
Can we get a
We
photo?
are adjourned.
Of you guys?
Yeah, we can take a photo. Okay.
Yeah.
We want you to work with the.